on the fields of Trenzalore, at the fall of the 11th, a question will be asked, a question that must never be answered. Doctor Who. Today I will be reviewing yesterday's episode of Doctor Who, The Name of the Doctor. I'm not going to go into all of this episode. I'm going to touch on the key points that I enjoyed most, because if I went into all of it, there are so many things that happen in this episode. If I went into all of it, we would be here hours. So basically what happens in this episode is the Doctor and Clara land on Trenzalore. Well, I say land, more like fall, like, get it? The fall of the 11th, and they do. They fall on Trenzalore. There on Trenzalore, they discover the Doctor's tomb, where he is buried, his grave. One of the best things in this episode is the fact that the Doctor doesn't even have a body in his grave. He has basically his essence, his time span, his timeline, his travel from Gallifrey to Trenzalore, everything in between, in this giant, basically it's like a timeline. In his tomb, we meet again Richard E. Grant's character, Dr. Simeon, or the Great Intelligence, if you will. And he has an army of what he calls Whispermen. And Whispermen are the big monster in this episode. And I'm going to go off track for a minute. The Whispermen look very similar to a Sarah Jane Adventures monster called the Trickster. I'm thinking maybe they're related in some way because they look awfully similar. And knowing Moffat does not really do coincidences very well. He always has something up his sleeve where he can bring everything back around full circle, which he did in this episode, and at the end he confused you even more. So in this episode, you find out exactly who Clara is. Richard E. Grant, basically, or his character, the Great Intelligence, jumps into the Doctor's timeline, and he destroys every victory the Doctor has ever had, and makes them losses, makes them defeats. And it is then that in order to save the Doctor, Clara jumps in as well, and makes them, basically, and makes the Doctor's losses victories. And that's when you find out that there is not just one Clara, there is a million Claras all around time and space. She is the girl who saves the Doctor over and over again. She saves him. The Dalek, that was one of the million Claras. The girl in Victorian England, another one of the million Claras. And Clara, the original Clara, ends up in a place where all the Doctors coexist at the same time. The Doctor jumps in his own timeline to rescue Clara from this place. And that's when we get the best ending I've ever seen in Doctor Who. It was so great, so epic, and it sets up for the 50th in a way that I did not even expect. I can't even put the ending into words. I gotta show it to you in order for you to properly understand it. So I'm going to explain to you what I think this ending means. Let's look at the name of the Doctor. What is the Doctor? What does Doctor mean? Well, Doctor means healer, in a way. Savior, sometimes. When is the Doctor's greatest moment? When he did not heal or save, but when he destroyed millions and millions and millions of lives. It's the moment when he ended the Time War, when he destroyed both his people and the Daleks. I believe this ending makes sense because you hear him say, "I did what I did in the name of peace." Now, peace being ending the war and saving all of time and space. That's all I've got to say about this episode. Don't forget to check out the Doctor Who fans Facebook page. I'm going to put a link in the description bar below to it, and goodbye.
Doctor has a secret, you know.
What is your name?
And it is discovered.
I'm Clara Oswald. I was born to save the Doctor.
There is one place you must never, ever find yourself.
Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't.